The quantum arrays at Lunar Base Epsilon never stopped listening. Their massive dishes pointed endlessly into the void, searching for signals among the cosmic noise. Dr. Sarah Chen had spent 12 years manning these arrays, and in all that time, they'd never picked up anything beyond the usual electromagnetic chatter of the universe. That changed on a quiet Thursday morning in 2157. The first signal arrived as a burst of coherent quantum data, completely unlike anything in their detection archives. Sarah was reviewing routine maintenance logs when her console erupted with alerts. The incoming transmission bypassed every known encryption protocol, materializing directly on her primary screen in crystal-clear text. To any Class 13 civilization capable of receiving this message, we are the Galactic Concordat. Our worlds burn. Our final defense has failed. If you exist, if you can hear us, we beg for aid. Sarah's hands trembled as she initiated emergency protocols. Within minutes, the lunar base's command center filled with senior staff. Director Hammond arrived last, his usually immaculate uniform hastily donned. "Show me everything," he ordered, and Sarah projected the continuing transmission onto the main holographic display. The message repeated in multiple formats, accompanied by vast data packets containing star charts, tactical information, and something that made every human in the room catch their breath: visual feeds from dozens of worlds under attack. The images showed cities of impossible architecture being methodically destroyed by something that defied easy description. The attackers seemed to phase between states of matter, their forms rippling like oil on water as they consumed everything in their path. The defending forces, clearly advanced beyond human understanding, appeared helpless against them. Class 13 civilization, Hammond mused, studying the classification data included in the transmission. According to this, it's their highest category for species that have achieved both technological advancement and retained their aggressive survival instincts. Most advanced races apparently evolve past their warrior heritage. "Sir," Sarah interjected, "there's more. The data indicates that humanity is one of only 3 Class 13 species in the known galaxy. The other 2," she paused, double-checking the information, "they're listed as extinct." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, barely having achieved reliable interplanetary travel, was being called upon by vastly superior civilizations. They needed us not for our technology, but for something far more primal: our ability to fight, to survive, to persist against impossible odds. Director Hammond opened a secure channel to Earth's Unified Defense Command. "This is Lunar Base Epsilon. Priority Alpha. Wake everyone." And I mean everyone. The response was immediate. Within hours, emergency sessions convened across Earth. Military commanders studied the tactical data while scientists pored over the technological information freely shared by the Concordat. The alien civilizations were offering to upgrade human ships with their advanced technology, faster than light drives, energy shields, and quantum communications, in exchange for our help. The decision wasn't unanimous. Some argued for isolation, for letting alien civilizations solve their own problems. Others saw opportunity in the stars. But as more footage arrived, showing entire systems going dark as the unknown enemy advanced, humanity's course became clear. In orbit, the United Earth Defense Fleet's 15 newest vessels underwent hasty modifications. Concordat engineering specifications merged with human military hardware, creating hybrid ships unlike anything either civilization had fielded before. They retained their kinetic weapons, railguns, missile batteries, and mass drivers, but now powered by energy systems that seemed to bend physics itself. Sarah found herself reassigned to the UES Adamant, the fleet's flagship, as Chief Communications Officer. Her expertise with the quantum arrays made her uniquely qualified to handle the advanced communication systems. Captain Maya Rodriguez, a decorated veteran of the Mars conflicts, commanded the vessel. As the fleet prepared for its first faster-than-light jump, Captain Rodriguez addressed her crew. "We go to fight an enemy we barely understand, to protect civilizations we've never met. They call to us across the stars not because we're the most advanced, but because we remember what they've forgotten: how to face impossible odds and refuse to break. We carry with us humanity's greatest weapons: our determination, our ingenuity, and our unwavering will to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The UES Adamant's engine core hummed to life, its human engineering now singing in harmony with alien technology. Across the fleet, 15 ships prepared to make history. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community wouldn't be as explorers or diplomats, but as warriors answering a desperate call for help. Sarah watched Earth recede on her display, a blue jewel growing smaller by the second. The quantum drive spooled up, reality preparing to bend around them. In her mind, she could still hear the desperation in that first transmission, the plea of advanced civilizations facing extinction. They were about to discover what humanity did best: facing the impossible and finding a way to win. Captain Rodriguez gave the order, and the fleet jumped into the unknown, carrying with them the hopes of not just humanity, but countless alien civilizations waiting for salvation. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The time had come to show the galaxy why humans were classified as Class 13. The quantum jump blasted an eternity and no time at all. When reality reasserted itself, the UES Adamant and its sister ships emerged into chaos. They arrived at the Concordat's primary defense station, a massive structure that curved through space like a silver lotus. Parts of it were dark. Others flickered with failing shields as waves of crystalline entities assaulted its defenses. Captain Rodriguez stood from her command chair, taking in the battle unfolding before them. Status report: multiple hostile contacts, Lieutenant Park announced from Tactical. The station's outer defenses are at 12% and failing. Their weapons— he paused, recalibrating his sensors. Their weapons seemed to pass right through the enemy shields. Sarah Chen worked her communications array, sorting through the flood of quantum data. Captain, I'm receiving transmission from the station. Translating now. A figure materialized on the bridge's holographic projector. The alien was humanoid in only the loosest sense, its body composed of overlapping geometric patterns that shifted like living stained glass. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made the air vibrate. Earth vessels, you arrive at a crucial moment. I am High Commander Zilara of the Concordat. The metamorphs breach our final lines. They adapt to every weapon we deploy. Our civilization's tendency toward pure energy-based technology has become our downfall. Rodriguez straightened her uniform. We received your call for aid. The United Earth Defense Fleet stands ready to assist. What exactly are we facing? The metamorphs were a research project, an attempt to create life that could survive in any environment. They exceeded their design, gained consciousness, and now seek to consume all other forms of life to fuel their endless adaptation. The tactical display updated with new data from the Concordat systems. The metamorphs' attacks followed precise patterns, each wave learning from the last. Their crystalline forms shimmered between states of matter, making them nearly impossible to target with conventional energy weapons. Lieutenant Park, Rodriguez called, analyzed their attack patterns. Find me a weakness. She turned back to the hologram. High Commander, we'll need to coordinate our forces. Our weapons are different from what you're used to. The aliens' geometric patterns shifted in what might have been surprise. Yes, your kinetic weapon systems, so primitive, yet perhaps that primitive nature is exactly what we need. The metamorphs have never encountered purely physical attacks of such magnitude. Sarah's console lit up with new contacts. Captain, multiple hostile ships emerging from quantum space. They're launching another assault wave. Rodriguez's voice cut through the growing tension. All ships, battle formation Delta. Load kinetic penetrators and prepare mass drivers. Let's show them why humanity never abandoned the simple solutions. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, forming a defensive screen around the station's most vulnerable sections. The metamorph ships approached, their crystalline forms rippling with energy that had overwhelmed the Concordat's most advanced weapons. Interesting, the alien commander observed, studying tactical readouts. Your crew's neural patterns, they show excitement, not fear. How do you maintain such composure in battle? Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. This is what we trained for, what our ancestors prepared us for across countless generations of conflict. Humanity learned to find clarity in chaos, purpose in combat. The first wave of metamorphs struck the human line. Energy beams lashed out, only to be absorbed or redirected by their adaptive shields. But they had never faced anything like a human railgun. The UEA's Adamant's main battery fired, a hypersonic tungsten rod, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The purely kinetic impact shattered the lead metamorph ship into a cloud of crystalline fragments. All ships, concentrate fire, Rodriguez ordered. They can't adapt to physics. The space around the station erupted in a symphony of destruction as humanity's primitive weapons proved devastatingly effective. Railguns thundered silently in space, mass drivers hurled projectiles at relativistic speeds, and missile salvos overwhelmed the metamorph's ability to adapt. High Commander Zalaris' patterns shifted rapidly. Extraordinary. Your weapons, they'd bypass their adaptations completely. Perhaps there is wisdom in maintaining connection to one's evolutionary past. Sarah monitored the quantum communications, coordinating fire solutions between human ships and the station's remaining defenses. The metamorphs' previously unstoppable advance faltered for the first time, their perfect formations breaking under the onslaught of kinetic impacts they couldn't adapt to. But victory wasn't assured. The enemy learned, adapted, tried new tactics. They began using destroyed ships as shields, attempting to calculate projectile trajectories. Humanity would have to prove they could adapt too, that being Class 13 meant more than just maintaining aggressive instincts. The battle for the Concordat's defense station was just beginning, and it would take more than raw firepower to win. It would take everything that made humans unique in the galaxy, their ability to innovate, to find unconventional solutions, and to face overwhelming odds with determination instead of despair. As another wave of metamorph ships quantum jumped into the system, Rodriguez squared her shoulders. All hands, prepare for extended combat operations. Let's show the galaxy why they called for us. The metamorph's response to humanity's intervention came faster than anyone expected. 3 days after the defense of the Concordat station, quantum sensors detected massive enemy fleet movements across multiple sectors. They weren't just adapting their tactics, they were changing their entire strategy. They're targeting civilian evacuation routes, Sarah reported, her hands flying over the quantum communications array. The metamorphs are learning from us, Captain. They're thinking strategically now. The UEA's Adamant's bridge was dimly lit, running on combat power as Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical overlay. The human fleet had split into 3 task forces, each protecting different sectors of Concordat space. But even with their effective kinetic weapons, they couldn't be everywhere at once. Show me the pattern, Rodriguez ordered. The holographic display expanded, showing hundreds of metamorph movements across dozens of star systems. Lieutenant Park highlighted attack vectors and probable targets, the AI combat systems calculating possibilities. They're hurting civilians, Park realized, his eyes widening. Every attack drives refugee ships toward this sector. He highlighted a region of space near a massive nebula. It's a trap. High Commander Zalaris' holographic form shimmered into view, its geometric patterns showing clear distress. We've detected over 3 million civilian vessels moving into that sector. Our people have never faced war. They flee toward what seems safe, not recognizing the tactical situation. Rodriguez stood, her decision made. They're counting on that. They've learned we'll prioritize protecting civilian populations. She turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant, what's in that nebula? Heavy mineral content, Captain. Significant electromagnetic interference. Our sensors would be virtually useless in there, and quantum communications would be degraded. Perfect hunting ground for crystalline entities that can navigate by pure energy signatures, Sarah added, understanding dawning in her eyes. Rodriguez's lips curved into a tight smile. Unless you're running on old-fashioned radar and human eyeballs, signal the fleet. We're going hunting. The next 12 hours transformed space warfare forever. The human fleet approached the nebula using maneuvers developed for Earth's asteroid fields, their primitive sensor systems proving far more reliable in the electromagnetic soup than the Concordat's quantum technology. Multiple contacts. Park called out as the Adamant led the formation deeper into the purple-tinged clouds of space gas. Metamorph signatures all around us. They're huge. The enemy had adapted again, forming massive crystalline structures that dwarfed their previous ships. They thought size would counter human kinetic weapons. They were wrong. All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt, Rodriguez commanded. Across the human fleet, weapon systems that had been modified over the past 3 days were to life. The Concordat's advanced power generation technology had been merged with human missile designs, creating something entirely new. The first salvo launched, thousands of small, agile missiles carrying minimal warheads but massive engines. The nebula's electromagnetic interference meant the metamorphs couldn't track them effectively. They adapted their shields for maximum kinetic resistance, preparing for impacts. But impact wasn't the goal. Detonate, Rodriguez ordered. The missiles exploded in carefully calculated patterns, their enhanced engines creating shockwaves that resonated through the nebula's mineral content. The crystalline metamorph ships began to vibrate. Basic physics, Sarah whispered, watching the enemy formations start to shatter. Crystalline structures have natural resonance frequencies. Hit them right. The metamorph ships broke apart from within, their adaptive capabilities useless against the fundamental laws of physics. The nebula lit up with destruction as the trap became a killing ground, not through overwhelming force, but through human understanding of simple scientific principles. All ships, advance. Rodriguez commanded. Clear a path for those civilian vessels. The human fleet pushed forward, their conventional radar painting clear pictures of the battlefield, while their quantum-enhanced rivals struggled to navigate. They had turned the Metamorph's chosen battlefield into their greatest vulnerability. High Commander Zalora's hologram watched in amazement. You used our power systems not to enhance your weapon's destructive capability, but to exploit basic physical principles. This is not how advanced civilizations wage war. That's exactly why you called us, Rodriguez replied, coordinating another precision strike. We never forgot that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our aggression. It's our ability to think both primitively and progressively at the same time. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The human fleet carved a safe corridor through the nebula, protecting the civilian evacuation while systematically destroying the metamorph ambush force. When it was over, the nebula's purple gases were filled with crystalline debris that glittered like stars. But victory had come with a cost. 3 human ships were destroyed, their crews sacrificing themselves to protect civilian vessels. The survivors bore scars, both physical and mental, that would never fully heal. Yet they had proved something extraordinary. That humanity's worth to the galaxy lay not just in their willingness to fight, but in their unique way of thinking. As the fleet regrouped at the nebula's edge, Rodriguez received word that the metamorphs were pulling back across all sectors, regrouping for what would surely be an even more desperate battle. The war wasn't over, but something fundamental had changed. The galaxy was learning that humans weren't just warriors. They were innovators who could turn an enemy's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. The UES Adamant's quantum communications array lit up with messages from hundreds of saved civilian ships. Their gratitude transcended language barriers, touching something fundamental in every human crew member's heart. They had come to the stars as warriors, but found themselves becoming something more. protectors, teachers, and living proof that advancement didn't have to mean losing touch with one's roots. After the Nebula battle, the war entered a new phase. The metamorphs had withdrawn to a region of space that the Concordat simply called the Void, a massive area where conventional physics seemed to break down. The enemy was adapting again, but this time they were doing more than changing their tactical approach. Sarah found the first evidence in the quantum communications intercepts. "Captain, you need to see this," she called, her voice tense. The data streams flowing through her console showed patterns she'd never seen before. They're not just communicating. They're evolving their entire language structure. The UEA's Adamant's science labs had been running continuously for weeks, analyzing every scrap of data about their crystalline opponents. Dr. Patel, the ship's chief scientist, confirmed Sarah's discovery. "They're achieving a new level of collective consciousness," he explained to the assembled command staff. "Every defeat teaches them. Every adaptation makes them stronger. They're becoming something new." Captain Rodriguez studied the holographic projections showing the Void's boundary. The human fleet had grown, with the Concordat rapidly manufacturing ships to human specifications. But the enemy's evolution was outpacing their preparation. "Show me their pattern changes since first contact," she ordered. The display shifted, showing the metamorphs' tactical and biological evolution. Each engagement had pushed them towards something more complex, more dangerous. High Commander Zalara's holographic form appeared, its geometric patterns more chaotic than usual. "We've detected massive energy signatures from the Void. Our analysis suggests they're preparing for something unprecedented." "They're scared," Lieutenant Park said suddenly. All eyes turned to the tactical officer. "Look at the pattern. Every adaptation, every evolution. It's all been in response to us. We showed them something they'd never seen before, beings who could actually hurt them. They're not just adapting anymore. They're trying to transcend their current form entirely." Rodriguez understood. The metamorphs had never faced a serious threat before encountering humanity's kinetic weapons. Now they were racing to evolve beyond physical vulnerability. But that desperation made them more dangerous than ever. The next attack came without warning. Metamorph ships burst from the Void, their crystalline forms now rippling with dark energy that bent light around them. Traditional radar bounced off useless, and even the human fleet's hybrid weapons seemed to pass through them without effect. "All ships, fall back," Rodriguez ordered as the first wave of casualties began. 3 human vessels and 5 Concordat ships vanished in bursts of exotic energy, their crews having no time to even call for help. Sarah's hands flew over her console, analyzing the quantum data streams. "Captain, they're not just using energy shields anymore. They're shifting partially out of our reality, existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. That's why our weapons aren't working," Dr. Patil added. "You can't hit what isn't fully there." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The metamorphs had found a way to counter humanity's advantage, evolving beyond the reach of physical weapons. The tactical display showed more enemy ships emerging from the Void, their trans-dimensional forms distorting space itself. But Rodriguez wasn't done. "Doctor, if they're shifting between dimensions, they must be expending massive amounts of energy to maintain that state, correct?" "Yes, the power requirements would be." Patel's eyes widened. "Of course. They can't maintain it indefinitely." "Sarah, get me High Commander Zalara. Lieutenant Park, signal all ships to prepare for maximum acceleration on my mark." Rodriguez's plan was dangerous, perhaps suicidal, but it was based on something the metamorphs couldn't evolve beyond: the fundamental laws of physics. The human fleet engaged in a fighting retreat, drawing the enemy further from the Void. Each ship pushed its hybrid engines to the limit, burning through power reserves at an alarming rate. The metamorphs followed, their trans-dimensional forms rippling with confidence. Then, at a precise distance from the Void, Rodriguez gave the order. Every human and Concordat ship activated their quantum drives simultaneously, not to jump, but to create a massive gravitational distortion. The fabric of space-time buckled under the concentrated energy. The effect on the metamorphs was catastrophic. Their dimensional shifting required perfect spatial stability. The gravitational chaos forced them to choose: maintain their trans-dimensional state and be torn apart, or return fully to normal space. They chose survival, their crystalline forms solidifying as basic physics reasserted its hold. In that moment of vulnerability, the combined fleet struck with everything they had. Kinetic rounds, quantum-enhanced missiles, and Concordat energy weapons hit the enemy simultaneously. The victory was decisive but costly. 5 more human ships were lost in the final assault, their crews joining the growing list of casualties. The surviving vessels bore scars that would never fully heal, their hulls marked by weapons that defied conventional physics. As the fleet regrouped, processing their losses and their victory, Sarah received a transmission from deep in Concordat space. "Captain," she called, her voice thick with emotion. "The civilian worlds we evacuated. They're naming their children after Earth constellations. They're teaching their young about humanity's stand against the impossible." Rodriguez stood at her viewport, watching rescue operations begin. The metamorphs had been pushed back, but the war's true impact was just beginning to be felt. Humanity had changed the galaxy, and the galaxy had changed humanity. They had come as warriors but would remain as something more, living proof that civilization didn't have to choose between advancement and retaining its fundamental nature. The stars seemed different now, filled with both promise and peril. The human fleet had helped save the galaxy, but at a price that would be felt for generations. Yet, as Rodriguez looked at her crew, she saw not just warriors, but pioneers who had forged a new path for both humanity and their alien allies. 3 months after the final battle at the Void, the UES Adamant docked at Earth's new quantum spaceport. The massive structure, built with Concordat technology, represented everything that had changed since that first distress call. As Captain Rodriguez watched her crew disembark, she reflected on how humanity's response to a desperate plea had transformed both species forever. The spaceport's observation deck offered a view of dozens of ships under construction, new vessels that combined human military design with Concordat quantum engineering. But more striking were the alien beings moving freely among the human workers, their crystalline and energy forms no longer causing startled reactions. "It's remarkable how quickly things change," Sarah said, joining her captain at the viewport. The former communications officer had become Earth's lead expert in quantum linguistics, bridging the gap between human and alien thought patterns. "A year ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Now we're teaching combat tactics to energy beings." High Commander Zalara's hologram materialized beside them, its geometric patterns flowing in what they now recognized as amusement. "And we are teaching you the arts of dimensional engineering, though you insist on applying them in ways we never considered. Your species continues to surprise us." The aftermath of the Metamorph War had reshaped galactic society. The enemy's defeat hadn't meant their extinction. Some had survived, retreating to unknown regions of space, but their threat had forced fundamental changes in how advanced civilizations viewed progress. "The latest data from the Concordat Academy is fascinating," Dr. Puddle reported, joining the group with his ever-present tablet. "They're incorporating human historical studies into their standard education. Not just our military history, but our entire journey from primitive tribes to spacefaring civilization." Rodriguez smiled, remembering the discussions that had followed their victory. The Concordat had realized that their path of pure technological advancement, abandoning their evolutionary heritage, had left them vulnerable. Humanity's success had come not from superior technology, but from maintaining connection to their roots while reaching for the stars. "The first human Concordat hybrid crews begin training next week," Sarah added. "They're calling it the Guardian Initiative. Mixed crews, combining their quantum sensitivity with our tactical instincts." Outside, a new ship caught Rodriguez's eye. It hull bore both United Earth and Concordat markings, but its design was unlike anything either civilization had created before. The synthesis class, Solara explained, following her gaze. A true collaboration. Your kinetic weapon systems powered by our quantum cores, piloted by crews who understand both the physical and energy aspects of space combat. The changes weren't limited to military matters. Earth's cities now hosted Concordat cultural centers, where humans learned about the artistic and philosophical achievements of their new allies. In return, alien observers studied human sports, music, and the arts, fascinated by how humanity channeled their aggressive instincts into creative expression. "There's something you should see," Sarah said, activating a nearby holographic projector. It showed footage from a Concordat world that had been among the first to be evacuated during the war. A massive monument had been erected, but not to military victory. It depicted a human hand helping an energy being to rise, carved from crystal that shifted colors like the aurora borealis. "They call it the balance," Zilara explained. "It represents what we learned from each other. That true strength comes not from abandoning one's nature, but from understanding it. Your species taught us that progress without wisdom is merely movement without meaning." Lieutenant Park arrived with new reports. The long-range quantum sensors had detected unusual activity at the edge of known space, possibly metamorph signatures, but different from anything seen before. "They're still out there," he said, "still evolving. But now we evolve too, together." Rodriguez studied the reports. The threat wasn't over, might never be over. But humanity was no longer alone in facing it. They had come to the stars as warriors, become saviors, and emerged as teachers and students both. "Send word to the fleet," she ordered. "All ships to maintain ready status. We didn't fight just to win a war. We fought to protect a future. That duty doesn't end." As the sun set over Earth's new quantum spaceport, humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. The stars above were no longer distant lights but beacons of possibility, each one representing not just potential threats but opportunities for growth and understanding. Sarah's quantum communicator chimed with a message from a Concordat research team. They had discovered ancient ruins that suggested other Class 13 civilizations might have existed in the distant past. The galaxy's history was being rewritten, not through conquest, but through collaboration between species that had found strength in their differences. "Ready for the next mission, Captain?" Zilara asked, its patterns shifting with anticipation. Rodriguez looked at her crew, human and alien, warriors and scientists, all changed by their experiences, but stronger for it. "Always," she replied. "We've got a galaxy to protect, and a lot more to learn from each other." The UEE's Adamant's quantum drive hummed to life, preparing for another journey into the unknown. But this time, they weren't flying to answer a desperate call for help. They were moving forward as part of something greater, a civilization that had learned to balance progress with wisdom, technology with instinct, and the drive to explore with the will to protect. The age of isolation was over. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by conquering or submitting, but by being exactly what they were. A species that never forgot its roots while reaching for the infinite. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they.